Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. As I said, this workshop will be recorded and can be accessed in YouTube. Um, let's first go ahead and start with Career Innovations. I know a lot of people are probably asking, what is Career Innovations? Just give you a quick firm overview of what we are. We're a recruiting firm. I'm Bridget Baggett, the founder of Career Innovations. Career Innovation is pretty much an executive search firm. We were launched in 2007. We're a referral-based firm. We pride ourselves in innovative technology and tools to locate the best talent for our clients. But we also wanted to be able to give resource to candidates that we don't get to place. And a lot of times when we do get candidates for jobs, to be totally honest, anywhere from 90 to 95% of the resumes we receive, we don't use, because we have a very high volume of people that apply. And I'm pretty sure we're not the only staffing agency or even employer that gets this type of volume. So this is just one of many reasons that we do offer this weekly Q&A session to help those out there that may need the help finding a position. I'm the Director of Staffing and Recruiting. I see ourselves as innovators. We use an innovative approach, including unconventional and untraditional methods to locate top talent. One of my passions is organizational development and change. Organizational culture, I truly believe, starts with the company's core values, and it's the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent. As you can see, some of the services that we offer, not only the training session that you're attending, we also offer compensation benchmarking, referral, and retention workshops for employers. Today's quote I thought was very unique. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. And I thought that was a very insightful quote. We had a lot of questions that actually came in before the workshop. Some of them I did combine in the slides because they were pretty much similar. So they will be addressed, but they've been combined as well. So we have 7 questions today that were asked. We're going to be covering the answers. Some of them, like I said, may overlap with each other, but we're really going to try to touch on some of the issues that these particular job seekers face, and these are the questions that were submitted. The first one is, what's the best answer so employers will hire me immediately? And I'm going to get into that. That's one of the first questions that I'm going to answer. How does a new MBA graduate go about looking for a job? What job sites should I be using to find a job? What do HR personnel really want to hear in a cover letter? How do you break the ice when networking with strangers online? The other question was, what is the best resume format? How can I make my resume more appealing for employers? How do you change careers from 10 years in retail management to a career in marketing? How do you get back into the workforce when you've been out for 4 years and working in a completely different field? And one of the last questions that I received is, what's the best way to job hunt out of state without moving there first? They also told, they also stated that a recruiter advised I should move there first. They stated, well, that's impossible. So we're going to touch on some of these questions and look at some answers that you should be focusing on. The first question, what's the best answer so the employer will hire me immediately? Once again, I'm not sure if you are targeting this question to an interview question that was asked, but at the end of the day, you should be answering the only questions that employers want to know. Why should I hire you? That is pretty much the only question that employers are really want to know. Why should I hire you? Why should I invest my dollars into you? So you want to be able to answer that question. As you know, competition is tough. There are many employers out there that are hiring, but at the same time, there are many candidates that are applying to these same jobs that you are applying to. You want to be able to answer this question, and I can give you reasons why this question is important and how employers are going to determine the answer, whether or not you directly answered this question or not. The first thing, they're going to be looking at your education. They want to know, do you meet their education requirements? The second thing they're going to be looking at is the experience. Do you have the experience? If so, how much? Does your experience directly correlate with the job posting or the job requirements? And lastly, they're going to be looking for solutions. And I know a lot of people, really push selling themselves. And if you ever take a look at some of the past workshops that we've done, it's not really about selling yourself. It's about selling a solution. What solutions are you going to implement? What solutions have you implemented in the past with previous employers? Did they work? If they did, how? Employers want to know, how did the solutions impact their organization, either positively or negatively? Did you increase something? Did you save the organization money? Did you create a partnership? At the end of the day, what's going to make you different from all the other applicants that are applying to these same jobs? Some of them are going to have the same credentials. You're going to have to be able to find out, what do you have to offer? What skills make you unique? And overall, what value are you going to bring to the organization? That's going to answer the question, why should I hire you? So you're going to have to be able to somehow showcase this either in your resume, either on your LinkedIn profile, showing how you're going to be able to answer those questions. What has happened in the past as far as your track record? What solutions have you implemented in the past? And what can you bring to the table moving forward? So that's the first question I want to address when that question was asked. That's something that you're going to have to be able to answer either through your phone screenings or through your face-to-face interviews. And they're not going to directly come out and say, hey, what makes you different? Why should I hire you? This is something that you're going to have to illustrate either strategically through your resume or through your past achievements. The next question is, how does a new MBA grad go about looking for a job? What job site should I be using to find a job? What do HR personnel really want to hear in a cover letter, or how do you break the ice when networking with strangers online? And this doesn't just go for new grads. I made a new grad flow chart, and I said new grad ahead, but this is really for anyone that's going out in the workforce that may be looking for an entry-level position or job. But for graduates, and even if anyone's on the line that has a child or has a young adult that's in college, a lot of people don't take this as a platform to gain employment. First thing you should be looking at is internships. Networking, reaching out to people that you've already built relationships with. And a lot of times this is done through your coursework and through your school. When I was in undergrad, we had internships that a lot of people got hired on full-time following those internships. So I'm also seeing that a lot of grads aren't leveraging these opportunities. Internships is the first thing that you should be looking at. It's also informational interviews, and that's pretty much reaching out to employers, finding a little bit more about the business, finding out what makes them competitive, the positions that they may or may not have, or future positions that may be created. That's kind of like what an informational interview is. It's not really interviewing for a position per se, but it's kind of like a get-together. Let me get to know you, what you do, and what your business does in the market. Next thing is mentorships. This not only goes for recent grads, but this also goes for people that are trying to make a career change. I think mentorship is something that everyone needs. Me, as being an entrepreneur and owning my own staffing firm, I have several mentors. So this is something that you should be also looking for someone in your industry that has some type of success, some type of trailblazer that you can actually pick their brain. And mentorship also leads to being able to connect you with people that may have a position that you might want to do. So I think that mentorship, this also goes under volunteering and shadowing. I had a client that, they were actually, mentoring at a consulting firm. They did want to actually get into the marketing field, and it was a marketing firm that did consulting with companies. And they were actually, shadow, I guess, the senior consultant that worked there. And then this didn't happen overnight. This was something that progressed over a couple months. They end up creating the position for the guy. So mentorships really can open up doors where sometimes you may not think the door exists. Next thing is also look at entry-level positions. Of course, this is kind of something that's straightforward and standard, but you also want to look at niche boards. One of the questions was, what job site should I be using to find a job? And this goes for anyone on the line that may be in a particular industry that's a niche. And I really think all industries are kind of their own niche. But for a recent grad, there are job boards out there that are dedicated for individuals that just recently graduated from college or from a trade school or from a certification program. There are thousands of job boards out there, and when people think of job boards, they only think of the 5 job boards, and I'm pretty sure you can think of them as I'm saying them: Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, Simply Hired. So you can only think of a handful of job boards. But a lot of people don't understand there's niche boards out there that are dedicated just for a specific craft or a specific industry. And I can tell you, if you're on the line right now, one of the job boards is Best Jobs for Grads, and that's Best Jobs with an S, the number 4, then grads, grads.com. And if you actually go to that website, was actually a job board that has nothing but jobs for people that recently graduated from school. And they're also looking for people with entry-level experience. So that's a great platform to use. And not only do they have entry-level positions, they also post internships and preceptorships on that site as well, to get people that may not have the experience in a particular industry to gain that experience. So you want to look at that job board as well. Far as networking, I really urge, if you're not on LinkedIn, to get a LinkedIn account. And I've said this on past workshops before, that 98% of employers are using LinkedIn. So if you're not using LinkedIn, you're at a disadvantage. I have yet to partner with a company or with an organization that does not have LinkedIn somewhere in their hiring process. Either they're looking at candidates using LinkedIn, either they're filtering candidates using LinkedIn, or they're connecting with candidates using LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're definitely at a disadvantage. So I would recommend that you create an account, and if you're a recent grad, I would start looking and joining groups that are tailored toward your industry. You can actually join groups that are tailored toward recent grads. And again, I'm not saying this information just for a recent grad. This is for anyone that's on the line that's in the industry. You should be using these LinkedIn groups and start networking with people that are leaders in the industry and people that hire in the industry. So if you're in marketing, you should be a part of a lot of marketing groups. You'll be amazed how many hiring managers are actually members of these groups just to look for candidates for marketing positions they have open at their organization. So you definitely need to be a part of this group. And that's actually going to go hand in hand with breaking the ice with networking with strangers online. When you're part of a group and you have some common ground, that's going to break the ice alone. So once you start to connect with these people online and you start to share a group, that's going to be an icebreaker. You're able to talk about the group that you joined. You're able to share articles among the group, and you're able to get to know people among the group. So when you reach out to someone, it's no more of a quote-unquote cold call or a cold lead. This is someone that you can actually say that I'm reaching out to you because we're a part of this group. And I thought this article was something that you'll like to see, or this comment that was made upon this post. So there's different ways to make this not so awkward when you reach out to someone that you don't know, and that's the best way to do that, is to join a group so you can have some type of common ground. And I hope that was able to answer the question. I think I answered all the questions that was in there. Oh, and one question about the cover letter. People usually do read cover letters. Cover letters, I think, need to be really focused on the overall job. I see a lot of times when cover letters rant about them. And again, and not to sound brass or sound rude, but the employers don't care about you. They want to know if you can solve a problem, if you have the skill set to do the job that they're hiring for. So when I read cover letters and they go on, go pretty much with a bio about themselves, I'm not saying not have it. It's great to have a couple of sentences about yourself, but you really want to be able to tailor your cover letter towards the position and how you can actually execute the problems that they're facing. That's what's going to catch my eye to read the resume. So I think when you do a cover letter, and nowadays, not to say they don't read them, there are some employers that don't even ask for a cover letter, and I've seen through a lot of ATS systems, or if you don't know what that is, the application tracking systems, they even make it optional, like, hey, you can upload one if you want to, you don't have to. So I'm starting to see a lot of people not request them, but when they do and they actually are reading cover letters, they want to be able to read, again, solutions and how you're going to bring value to the organization, not just about you. They want to be able to pull some value and some solutions from that cover letter and actually entice them to move on to the resume. The next question was, what is the best resume format? I didn't want to go through every single resume that's out there, so I picked the 4 primary resumes that I see, and I'm pretty sure you may be somewhat familiar with these resume formats. The first one is the chronological resume. Again, this resume starts by listing your work job history first. Most recent, is listed first, and it goes down in chronological order. You have your functional resume. This resume focuses on your skills, experience, rather than your chronological work history. Typically, people that use the functional resume are people that often change jobs or have some type of gaps in their employment history. Then we have the combination resume, which I also call the hybrid. It's a combination of both. It pretty much lists your employment history. Sometimes people put in a chronological order, or they use it in a functional format, but it really highlights what's relevant to the job. So a lot of times they try to pull out those details that are relevant just for the job they're applying for, but they still leave the positions that may not be as relevant on their resume to show that they still were currently or gainfully employed at those times. So I've seen people use the hybrid resume. I really like the hybrid resume out of all of them. And I'll tell you why. The last one is the targeted resume. This one is very, very detailed, and this is something that you'll use just for that 1 or 2 jobs that you're really trying to narrow it down to. The targeted resume is customized. It specifically highlights experience and skills that are relevant to the job. Again, this is very, very detailed. It's really tailored down to a particular industry, and I've actually seen targeted resumes tailored down to even a task or an assignment. And this is usually people that, that went to school specifically for a particular trade, and I've seen people do, this is all I do is JavaScript, and they just tailor it down to, the codes they wrote, the applications they created, the apps they put out, and they really just tailor it down just to that software, and it's very, very targeted. So that's what a targeted resume is. The question is, what's the best? There really isn't a best per se format. I can tell you the most common format, of course, is the chronological resume. This format is used by everyone, and employers are simply used to seeing it. So many employers would pretty much say they prefer this layout over any other layout. Not to say it's better, but I'm just saying that we are a creature of habit, and anything that does not look familiar to us, that comes across our desk that, we just can't figure it out, guess what? We're going to skip over it. Because keep in mind, HR professionals can take anywhere from a minute to a half a minute. I really say 30 to 60 seconds to scan a resume. And this is usually after it's been filtered out by technology. And I'm pretty sure you all know that a lot of course, these huge Fortune 500 companies use this parsing software that looks for keywords and scans these resumes. So a lot of times, many people that apply to these jobs, their resumes never ever get to be seen by human eyes, because they're usually parsed out by this technology before it even hits a hiring authority's desk. Totally honest about that. So a lot of times when people, 500, 600 people can apply to a job, probably only 10% to 20% will even make the cut. So we're talking about over 400 resumes that, go into storage or get that, thank you for applying, we'll keep your resume on file email. So you have to be, especially when you're formatting a resume, you want to make sure that you're using those keywords. Keywords are usually in the job description. I'm not even going to say usually, they are in the job description. When they say, needed, preferred, required, those are the keywords they're looking for. So anytime you see a job that says, this is required, this is preferred, this is needed, these are the keywords they're going to be scanning your resume for. So if they say this is required and not, and your resume doesn't even contain that particular skill set at all, more likely they won't even be looking at your resume. So that's one thing. So not to say chronological resumes are better, they're just much more used. Employers are pretty much used to seeing that type of format. And any other format, I'm not going to say they immediately get dismissed, but many HR personnel really don't have time trying to pull out, when you did this job, did you do this job this year or last year? Is this a current skill set, or is this something that you did a decade ago? They're not going to sit there and try to decipher that when they have 50 other resumes to look at. So they really like to have a format just to keep it going. Next one is, how can I make my resume more appealing for employers? This is the resume renovation. And I talked about in my last workshop that, everyone wants to look like a superstar. And I also refer to everything that glitter isn't gold, and employers know this. So even if you make your resume look pretty, they want to make sure that you can live up to your resume. And that's why the interview process is so critical. They're actually challenging you to see if you're going to be the same if you're going to represent yourself the same as you do on paper. So that's one thing that they do look at. And some HR personnel has been out here a while, and they know when a resume is dolled up and it really doesn't have substance to it. I also seen resumes that pretty much look like a copy and paste job description, and it's a resume that people just, I worked here, this is what I did, this was my duties, and I did this from this year to this year, and you have to remember, your resume is used as a marketing tool. This is the first thing employers see. This is your first line of defense. This gets you the interview, so you can sell that solution, or some people say sell yourself. So you have to have your resume be very focused on not only the job that you're applying for, but also be able to display the abilities and the potential that you can bring. I bring up the CAR method. This is how, when we do resumes, we ask for information to be able to develop it into a CAR method. Really don't care that this is what you were assigned to do or this was in your job description. I want to know, what conflict or problem did you have in this position? Especially if your title was I was a marketing manager, and you just list all the duties as a marketing manager. Any employer can Google what a marketing manager does. We don't need to see your resume to put together what you did. They want to know, okay, as a marketing manager, what were some of the challenges that you had in this position? What action did you take? How was it resolved? This is what they're looking for. They want to see, did you save the company money? Did you improve a process, or did you streamline a process? What does your track record say? The CAR method is able to show this in a way that displays, not only this is what I was hired to do, this is how I think, and this is how I follow through on the tasks that are assigned to me. So you want to be able to showcase this in your resume and not just put, duties and tasks. Your resume should clearly demonstrate your abilities, your strength, and the motivation to assume any new responsibilities and challenges that this new position is that you're actually applying for. And I've actually done statistics on this. This is on my website. Landing a job is 70% presentation and 30% actual skills and facts. In fact, the candidate that gets the job may not always be the most qualified. Sometimes it's the candidate that has the best presentation that gets hired. See it all the time. And I'm pretty sure, in your daily lives, you work with someone that you probably thought, how did they get that job? Some people have the gift of gab, and some people have the gift of creative writing as well. So you want to make sure that you're putting the best presentation forward. And I've seen so many people that were not only qualified for positions, in some cases overqualified for positions, and fell between the cracks because their resume wasn't aligned with the job position they were applying for. And it was sad to see that they missed out on opportunities because their resume wasn't saying what the job was asking them to do. They could verbally tell me all day what they did, and I would ask, why isn't this in your resume? So you have to be able to articulate what you've done and how you brought value to an organization. And at the end of the day, how were you a solution? That's what you really want to answer. Next question, I actually combined two questions in this question. Is how do you change careers from 10 years in retail management to career in marketing? And the other question was, how do you get back into the workforce when you've been out for 4 years and working in a completely different field? Okay, so these both have to do with getting back into the job, and also they both have to do with not only getting back into the workforce, but getting into the workforce in completely different fields or changing the field that they're currently in. So I made this about career change. You got to keep in mind that a career change sounds simple. When people think of, I'm just going to just start applying to new jobs, it can't be done overnight. In fact, a career change can actually take months, sometimes years to implement. It takes a strategic plan to not only find the job, but secure it with limited experience. Because meaning when you move to another job that you never worked in, you're not coming with 10 years of retail management experience. That's what you had in retail management. How much marketing experience are you coming with? So you have to look at it in that light, because that's what employers are looking at it. The first thing you need to do is start getting out there networking with people that are in that marketing industry. Goes back to joining LinkedIn, joining those groups. And on top of that, you also need to unplug. And I've said this in past workshops as well. Technology has made us so numb that now we can actually reach out to people, and guess what? They don't even reply back. And I actually addressed this in a previous workshop, that if you said hello to someone or spoke to someone and they didn't speak back, you would consider that rude. Most people would. That's rude if I speak to you and you don't even acknowledge me. That's rude. But in technology, that's common. You can send an email to someone. They don't have to email you back. They don't even have to acknowledge they received the email. So we have become so numb in this world of technology that one of the best things I think that's going for people that still get that face-to-face interaction, unplug once in a while, Go out there and find industry-related workshops and associations you can join. And marketing is huge. It's a huge field right now. It always has been a huge field because with every company, they all need and require some sort of marketing. There's so many associations out there. I know it's the American Marketing Association, the AMA. I know we have a chapter in Charlotte, and I'm pretty sure wherever you are, they have a chapter as well, because this is a huge organization. You should be joining these marketing associations. Get to know the who's who in the industry, and also discover what this job that you're going after really entails. And what I mean by that, a lot of people look outside, it's kind of like outside looking in, and they look at this job and they want to do it, but they really don't know the ins and outs of this job or the requirements of this job, and they're just going after this job. That brings us to the first thing on the slide. Why the change? What's the driver in this career change? Is it monetary? Is it something that always was your passion and you just never pursued? So you really want to figure out the why in this, because the why is going to keep you going when you get those no's, and you're going to get them. When you're trying to make a career change in the industry, you have no experience, be prepared for the no's. You also want to look at your transferable skills. As a retail management, what part of your job did you do any type of marketing? You want to make sure you can highlight this and make this transferable to the new field that you're pursuing. You also want to be flexible. Flexible not only with the job, but also with your time frame. This isn't going to happen overnight. Are you going to be patient? This may take months. This might not happen until 2015. So are you prepared to be flexible with this? And while you're working in retail management, get the experience. That goes back to hooking up with people in these associations, getting preceptorships, networking, and gaining some experience, if not just exposure to this industry. You also want to have to consider an entry-level position. You're not going to come in making a 10-year retail management salary. You're trying to go into a marketing field which you may have limited knowledge on. You're not going to come in making the same amount you're making now. Are you prepared to take a pay cut? Are you economically ready for that? And a lot of people don't talk about this with their spouses or with their children and let them know that, if I take this new position, 30 or 40 and sometimes half of my salary is going to be cut. Are we going to be able to make it? Are we going to be able to budget? So you also have to see if this is going to be an economically feasible choice for you. Next thing, are you open to relocation? That marketing position or that entry-level marketing position may not be down the street. It may not be in a 25-mile radius of where you live. You have to consider this. Are you willing to relocate for that position? I work with many of candidates that the opportunity is perfect, but they can't move. I've had a lot of candidates turn down opportunities because they just simply can't relocate. I had people that can't sell their houses. They can't rent them out. So they had to pass up opportunities because they weren't able to, move their family. They had children that were still in school. So you have to think about this when you even look at relocation. Is this something that's possible, or is it even a reality for you? Is it going to be something that's going to be able to help your situation? And if it is, are you willing to put in the work? So you definitely want to look at that. For the other question about getting back into the workforce when you've been out for 4 years and working in a completely different field, when you say out for 4 years, I don't know if you're saying if you were unemployed for 4 years or were you just working in a completely different field for 4 years. That's fine. I'm going to address both of them. If you were out for 4 years, I'm going to be honest with you. The first question is going to be asked was why. You have to be able to answer those gaps because they're going to come up. You're going to be asked, hey, why weren't you working from 2010 into 2014? That's 4 years. What were you doing? These are the questions that they're going to ask. They're going to want to know, why were you unemployed? If you were laid off, you were laid off for 4 years, they're going to ask this. And then they're also going to ask why this field. If you're trying to change fields, they're going to ask, okay, you're moving from, I'm just making up a field because you didn't put a field in here, but say you're moving from the IT field to the, I'm going to use the marketing field, for example. They're going to ask, why the change? Why are you moving in this field? So you're going to have to be able to answer these tough questions. I don't know why you were out of work for 4 years, but they're going to want an explanation, and they're going to know, what were you doing? As a headhunter and as a recruiter, I like to know that people, even though they may not be gainfully employed, were you doing something that stimulated your mind? I've talked to a lot of people that were out of work for 2 or 3 years, and they'll tell me, and I ask, okay, what were you doing for 2 years? I know you weren't working, but what were you doing? I have some people that I went back to school, and they can show that they went to school and, they graduated, or I went to school to get my master's, or I went to school to get my PhD, and I didn't work full time at this time. Those are acceptable answers. I know people that, hey, I stayed at home to take care of an aging parent, or someone that may have been terminally ill. These are answers that, you don't have to go into explicit detail of, the diagnosis and what you had to do, but they do want some type of explanation. They also want to know, what were you doing to keep your employable skills sharp? They don't want to know that they're bringing in someone that's dated. The last time you were in front of the computer doing this was 5 years ago or 4 years ago. You know how many versions came out since then? How many times we've uploaded this software since then? They want to make sure that you're going to still have a current skill set, or do we have to invest dollars into training you? These are questions that are really a reality for employers. This is something that, that candidates don't see. But employers think of this because they need to know, if we do hire this person, do we also have to invest dollars into, getting them up to speed? So you want to make sure that you're able to answer those questions and also answer the why when approaching a different field. And just like I said with the career change about networking, joining groups, getting active in associations, that goes for this particular question as well. If you're not doing anything, or even if you're unemployed right now, find something to still keep your skill set sharp. I had one guy that was going for, he was in IT going for the C++, and he didn't have the certification, and frankly, he flat out said, hey, Bridget, I don't have the money to go to school. They want $1,200 for this course. I don't have the money to pay for that. This guy went on YouTube, studied the video. They had training video. Everything's on YouTube now. Studied some of the training videos and the how-to videos on YouTube. Pretty much created his own video guide for C++ software and took the certification test and passed. The guy now has the C++ certification, and he did this all in his spare time. So he said, hey, I don't have the $1,200, but hey, YouTube is free. And he taught himself the software, took the test, and now he's C++ certified and applied for a position that required a C++ certification. The possibilities are endless. You definitely can make it happen. And I give these stories just for inspiration and show you that it's out there. The next slide, which was the final question, was related to relocation. What is the best way to job hunt out of state without moving there first? A recruiter advised I must move there first. That's impossible. First thing, I wouldn't advise anyone, and I've done it. I'm not saying that I've actually done it. So I'm not, I tell people don't do what I do what I say, or however the quote goes. I've actually relocated without a job or prospect in mind, and I can tell you one, is rough. It's very, and keep in mind, I did this when the economic situation was totally different than when it is now, so I didn't do it when the time of people were, recovering from a recession. So employment wasn't, it wasn't, over the top plentiful, but it was available, so worst case scenario, I could have got, something. May not have been what I wanted, but I could have got something to pay the bills. So the best way to job hunt out of state, I wouldn't move there without some type of prospect in place. I know a lot of people say, leap of faith and all that, but if it's just you, I don't know if you have a family, that's a lot of responsibility and just a lot of stress that's going to be on your plate, an obligation that's going to be on your plate that you're going to have to live up to if you make that move without a prospect. I can give you some alternative. This is what I've done. This is what my colleagues done, and I've even recommend friends do this if they are looking for a position out of state. Use a friend's address. If you're filling out these applications and they're looking for someone local, and some people will say they're local only. I've known people that use friend's address. I've known people that got P.O. boxes, in a particular state or location that they want to move to. P.O. boxes nowadays, I know in Charlotte, they're about $60 a year. That's not a lot of money. That's probably what, $60 a year is about $5 a month. You pay it, you only can pay it annually. So if you want to invest in a P.O. box, you can get a P.O. box for about $60 a year in a particular, city or state that you're trying to relocate, because it's not as simple as just putting it on your resume. I know a lot of people that's putting it on your resume, but when you actually fill out these applications, you have to put in an address. And it's going to throw the system off to have an address that doesn't match your resume, or an address that they're filtering for people that are local and you're putting an out-of-state address. So you can get a P.O. box, use a P.O. box as your address to show that you're local. Once again, if you have friends or family that are in a particular state or city, I know people that were trying to relocate to be closer to family. They used their their family gave them permission to use their address. Hey, yeah, use my address. So they use their address on the application, to fill out these applications. The down part of this is this: if they call you back for an interview, and in their mind they're thinking that you're local, and say I'm in Charlotte and I'm applying to jobs in San Francisco, and I apply, and they call me up Monday morning and say, hey, we'd like to schedule an interview on Wednesday. The kicker is, can you get to that location in 48 hours? So that's the only drawback to that. If you're not capable to get that plane ticket or make that drive or take off that time or whatever proactive activity you have to do to make those travel arrangements, if you can't do that, I don't know what the alternative would be. Or you can stall it, which means that you can ask that, hey, I'm not available this Wednesday, but can we shoot for something next week? That I've seen it happen that way. Oh yeah, we'll shoot for next Wednesday. So that'll give you a week. But that's the kicker with that. I know people that have applied to positions that, and I actually had a friend that, it's just funny that you've been asked this question. I had a friend that's from the Bay Area, San Francisco, actually Hayward, California area, that applied for a position in D.C. And she was looking for a position out there, and she actually had family in D.C., so it was easier for her, and she used the address of there, and they called her up, and within about 2 weeks, she flew out there, so she actually got them to extend the interview for 2 weeks, but when she filled out her paperwork, she put because that's where she was going to live anyway until she got her a place. So it kind of worked in her favor because she wasn't really fudging. She wasn't really, telling a story about it, because if she did relocate, she was going to be living at that address anyway, until she got her an apartment. So I've seen people do that. So my 2 ways of doing that would be to get a P.O. box or use a friend's address versus just relocating without a job, unless you have a position where you can work virtually and where you live doesn't matter. Hey, this wouldn't even be a problem. So I definitely would look at doing those 2 things. And I don't think the recruiter was on point with telling you to move first. It just doesn't make sense to move and leave your job and you don't have a job position available for you in that particular city or state. And I forgot to also include the relocation costs. If you're gonna present yourself as living in that area, best believe you can't ask for any relocation. They're going to assume that you live there, so you're going to have to cough up the money to relocate yourself, whether it may be somewhere that's 50 miles away, or you're moving across the United States. You're going to have to eat that cost. So that's another downfall of using someone else's address or getting a P.O. box. If you do get that position and you really have to move a house, or you really have some heavy duty lifting to move, you're going to have to cough up the cost to move those things, instead of seeing if they had a relocation package available. And most of the time, if they're doing local only, they're not even willing to pay for relocation at the end of the day. So you will have to come out of pocket anyway. Okay, I think that was our last question for the evening. My contact information, of course, is here if you visit us online. Our upcoming workshops, or most of them, have been posted. I think we have about 3 or 4 more to post up there, our June and July workshops. If what we said, you want a little bit more elaboration, like writing a winning resume, we go more into depth about the CAR method and things that you can do to market yourself. Also putting the action in your plan also helps people out that are seriously looking to make that career move. You can check out that workshop. We're going to, again, here we just scratch the surface, but we're really going to detail and give you an outline and a strategic plan to implement in your job search to make it happen. My direct number and extensions online, if you do want to talk to me verbally, I advise that you actually go online and book a phone appointment. More than likely, I'm out in the field and really don't answer the phone. I'm not at the office. So most of the time, if you schedule it ahead of time, I'm prepared for the call and I'm available. This is the time that I open up the line to answer any questions that may not have been covered in the workshop, and I'm seeing if any hands are raised or any questions are down below. So let me go ahead and open that up and see what we have today. Have someone that asked, do employers really think twice about relocation expenses if the job has to be filled very soon? If the job has to be filled really soon, no. And if the job is really about urgency, if the job is going to impact their bottom line in some way, and the main jobs that impact an employer's bottom line directly is pretty much sales and marketing positions. If they have someone in a territory and they're losing money if a particular sales position isn't filled. Because guess what? If you're not pitching to these clients, your competitor is. So they know I guess they know the consequences of not getting that position filled. But that comes with positions like that. No, relocation doesn't matter, when it comes to positions like that. But sometimes you will see positions online that specifically say, sometimes I've seen it in all caps and in bold letters, local candidates only, or, local candidates please. I've seen, and usually are positions that may not have that type of urgency. But even with urgent positions that they prefer local candidates, best believe they're going to look at local candidates before they look at out-of-state candidates. And that's just, and that really goes on, what they have to invest in the process. Of course, if it's a hard to fill position, and they can't find anyone locally, especially some of these IT jobs and even some of these sales positions in engineering, and it takes that specific type of salesperson that has this type of background that can sell this particular product. They're open to relocating them all the time. So it really scales down to the sense of urgency. And you're absolutely right. If a position has to be filled soon, the expense of relocation is a drop in the bucket to them. They'll relocate anyone that can do the job. So you're absolutely right. They don't think twice about that if it's something that's very urgent to the organization, and especially if they're losing money if they don't fill it. The next question is, should I look for an internship first? So since I've already graduated, and haven't done an internship, should I look for one first? I would look for both. There's nothing wrong with looking for entry-level employment as well as internship opportunities. And there's a lot of paid internships out there. There was an article that showed that it was some high-paying internships. I know, especially with these Fortune 500 companies, some of these internships were paying more than people's salaries, with these larger organizations. So don't always think as internships as unpaid. Of course, you do have your unpaid internships, but there are a lot of internships out there that are paid. So I would look for both. I wouldn't just dedicate just to internships. I will open the market up and look for both internships and entry-level employment. So I would get because either way you're going to gain that experience that you're looking to get. Say, do we have any more questions out there? Okay, another one is, any tips on maximizing using LinkedIn to get job opportunities? Okay, if you're using LinkedIn for job opportunities, I don't know if you're using the paid version or not. To me, the paid version just gives you what gives you the feature of being able to see who else applied to particular jobs. I've seen that in one of the I think the first, I want to say the lowest plan, I think it's $24.99. But even if you aren't using a paid account and you're using just a free account, to maximize your LinkedIn job opportunities is first to filter jobs out by using a filter. Also look for people that post a job, and I'm amazed when I tell people that you can see who posted the job. I've actually ran into people that didn't know this. Like, what? You can see who posted it? And I'm like, yeah. If you go to some of the, not all of them now, but some of the job descriptions that you go to, you can actually see who posted the job. I've done this to actually get clients, is connect with the people that posted the position, connect with them, or see what groups that you have in common and connect with them that way. Also, when you're applying to these positions, make sure that you have a profile that's very, very detailed. I'm seeing a lot of skeleton profiles out there, which I mean, I'm just seeing, this is where I work, about 5 bullet points, and that's it. You're really not giving that profile the that it needs. When I look at a profile, that's going to get, if you apply to the job, that's going to lead me to look at your resume. So you want to make sure you have a completed profile as well, and you're getting the right people in your network. Start connecting with people that are connected to these decision makers. And another thing you do when you post for job opportunities online, look for people in that industry that may be directly related to that job, or may be the direct hiring manager for that position. Keep in mind, the direct hiring manager 9 times out of 10 didn't post the job. More likely was HR. And HR is pretty much that gatekeeper or that middleman that's involved. The hiring manager that you want to look at, is you can filter it is by job title. It's usually, I don't know what position you're applying for, but if you're in account, say account manager or marketing or even IT, IT, you have your IT manager, you have your IT director, you have your CIO, you have your organizational chain of command in these organizations, and you're able to filter these companies out not only by job title but by company and demographic. And that way you want to be able to connect to people that that the jobs that you apply for, because when they pull up your profile, they're able to see how many people that they know are in your network. And they're already connected with blah, they're already connected with the IT manager or so and so and so and so. So you want to have that as well. And not only connect with them, definitely engage them, reach out to them, have that 30-second elevator speech, see if you can set up a time to, talk, so you definitely want to, don't be afraid to reach out to these people. And I'm seeing a lot of people connect to these people on LinkedIn and don't do anything else. So you want to make sure that you actually open up dialogue. I see another question. I am in an IT job for 7 years, looking for change for better pay and experience. How many job openings should I apply for in a day? I have heard many of my friends saying saying they apply to 8 to 10 openings each day, follow up with the HR or the organization on a daily basis. Okay, if you're applying to jobs, and that's good that they actually have a plan, that if they're doing 8 to 10 jobs a day, that's not a bad idea. But you also want to make sure that you're not being a spammer and you're just not applying to something just because it's open. You know, and that's one thing. When you start to apply to jobs just because they're open, and especially in HR, if I'm getting the same resume over and over again for each new position I post, you know, it starts to become generic. You know, and I really don't take the applicants serious. You know, if I had 3 jobs and they, you know, or 4 jobs and they applied to 3 out of 4. You know, so you really, you also want to be very careful about that. You want to make, you know, make a real wise decision on what you apply for, and make sure it's really something that you want to do, and just don't base it off of pay. And I see that you are looking for this change for better pay, but you also, in better experience, but you also want to make sure it's going to benefit you long term, you know, and not just another gig that's going to be an extra $10,000, you know, which is equivalent to probably what, an extra $1,000 a month. You know, after taxes, you might get an extra $200 or $300 a pay period. You know, so you really want to make sure you're making the right decision, because you don't want to have to go through this cycle again. You know, so if you're telling me it's 8 to 10 new jobs in your industry in IT, I kind of believe it, because IT's hot. So if you're telling me it's 8 to 10 new jobs every day that you can apply to, because I know if I do a search for jobs, I'm going to end up getting the same jobs over and over again. You know, that same job is going to keep popping up. But if you're saying that your particular field allows you to have 8 to 10 new jobs to apply to, you know, definitely, I mean, if it's something you want to do, that's a plan that definitely can be done. And following up is something that's crucial as well, you know, not just applying. What sector would hire a new grad immediately and at the least, and with the least scrutiny, need to work right away? It sounds like you're just looking for a job. So if a sector that hire a new grad immediately, and well, I can tell you one job that pretty much entry level, real, you know, sales is always something that people go into that, you know, either they don't have experience, or they'll teach them, or account management. I'm not saying to just go out there and just find a job. You really want to think about what you really want to do, because once you get that job and you really don't like it, you're going to find yourself looking for a job real soon. You know, and you're going to become this job hopper. You know, and that's going to end up making you worse in the end, because if I look at a resume and I'm seeing every 6 months you have a new job, and say you do find a job you really want and you're passionate about, you know, I'm not going to take you seriously. I'm going to be kind of skeptical to interview, because I'm going to say, well, what, you're going to stay 6 months and leave? So you really want to make sure that you're serious about finding your opportunity, and take time to do that. And it sounds like you're a new grad. Like I said to the previous person, look for internships. Look for employers that are looking to hire entry-level employees. And like that website I actually disclosed, I think it was newgradjobs.com. Take a look at that website, or just Google new grad jobs, and you'll see a lot of niche boards that are tailored to new graduates like yourself. And I would take that. See, do I have any more questions? Don't have any more questions, and we're actually 4 after. So if you do have another question, or I did not get to your question, please shoot it to me in an email, and I will actually email you one-on-one to fill in your answer. Or you can shoot it to me for next week, and that would actually be better, because that way I can create a slide and, you know, present it to everyone that's online. After this workshop, there is a survey. Only takes probably anywhere from 10 seconds to fill out. It's multiple choice, and then some fill in the blank questions that I like to know pretty much about how the workshop was, anything that we need to change, topics that you'd like to hear more about. This is also an opportunity to put in some questions that you might want answered in the next session, and just give us feedback. Again, these workshops are coming up. Take a look at our upcoming events to see if there's any workshops that y'all like to attend. And just let us know how we did overall. So if you can take this survey for us, that'll be great. And that way I'll know, you know, what we need to work on, what we can improve on in the next workshop. And also let us know if you're interested in any of the services that we offer as far as resume writing, career counseling and consulting, and just being able to get you in a place to find employment. So you can also answer that at the end of the survey as well. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.